Welcome, everybody, to another backstory episode of the WellWaveNOW podcast. Today's episode, we have the opportunity to hear more about a new guest that'll be on our full podcast coming up. And welcome to the program, Tatiana Tsoir. It's great to have you on the show.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Excellent. Well, we look forward to your full episode, but for right now, let's let our listeners get to know you a little better. And, as you think back to your early years, what really stands out for you that helped shape the approach that you take for life today?
What helped shape it, I think it's the people really more than anything else. And in terms of my story, I grew up in Belarus, which is a former Soviet Union country. Came to the US at 19, so 2003, and came for the summer and basically just met someone and stayed in the United States. Went to school and all of that. But really, that move, I think, was the biggest transitional moment for my life and definitely shaped who I was. So the person I met back then was actually turned out to be an abusive alcoholic. So I actually had like a little bit of like, when they teach kids to swim, they sometimes drop them in the deep end in the water and
Only
force
only in
them to.
Only in Belarus do we do that.
Yes, they do that in New York too, but not to my kids. But that's kind of what it felt like. But it also helped shape me up into this high performance human being. I was always I always had a lot of potential, growing up, but I was always mediocre in school. I didn't want to stand out. I kind of wanted to blend in. And I think that this traumatic experience in the beginning of my journey in the United States definitely shaped who I was, because when I was able to then go to college to finish my degree, I started a law degree in Belarus. I did 2 years, and it's like a 5-year program. In the US, you can change your mind. So that's what I did. I really wanted to be a lawyer for many years, and I went to law school. I did 2 years there, and then I came on like a summer exchange program. And so when I was able to go back to school here and transfer some credits and things like that, what I discovered in myself was that that traumatic experience reshaped my brain. And there was actually science behind it, where traumatic experiences physically rewire your brain, create new neural connections. And I think that's what happened to me, because I definitely became I finished with a departmental award in accounting, a 4.0 GPA in accounting, 3.98 GPA with 1B in sociology or whatever it was. And I showed up, I sat in the front row, I asked questions, I got over my fear of speaking and raising my hand and speaking with an accent and things like that. And so I think that really changed everything for me, and it affected everything that I've done since then.
I mean, you've referenced this traumatic experience. Do you mind telling our audience, specifically, what was that moment or period and that shaped you?
So basically, I came to the US in the summer and was working at hotels and like cleaning houses and things like that. It was a summer thing. It was supposed to be a summer thing. And then I met this gentleman who turned out to be an abusive alcoholic. And so I've lived in it for about 8 months, maybe 10 months. And so I escaped, essentially. And so that was the traumatic experience.
Okay. All right. And so at what point did you then start to move forward into what you're doing today?
So I was able to go to back to school in a couple of years after that. I was waiting for my immigration status adjustment and et cetera, working as a waitress and so on. And
So really utilizing all of the law background by waiting tables.
basically,
Yeah.
yeah. So, just when I went back to school, I had to sort of start over almost. They gave me some credits, but they didn't give me credits for everything that I've done before. And so I was still kind of focused on going to law school after. And I didn't have a plan as to how that would happen financially, specifically, because I knew that law school is like a full-time thing where you can't work. So not only do you have to get significant law school loans, you also have to somehow survive financially, like have a place to live and food to eat. And so I was like, okay, I'll figure it out. And so when the time came to choose a major, I was already kind of working as a secretary and then kind of an understudy for doing bookkeeping. The girl who was working at this company, small business plumbing company, she was leaving on maternity leave and not coming back. And so I was answering calls and then also kind of learning from her the nuts and bolts of bookkeeping, or at least what she was doing. And so I figured, you know what? Accounting is a skill, and I need to get a skill that will carry me through law school financially. And so I chose accounting. So I was learning stuff at night and applying it next day at work when I took over bookkeeping. To me, theory and practice was coming alive. To me, it was an instant connection and an application of what I was learning. The debits and credits, the normal balances, all of these little things were becoming alive in business next day. And I think that's a pretty unique experience in terms of, because, I now train accountants, I train bookkeepers, I establish processes and workflows for businesses from a financial perspective and tax perspective. But I haven't never met anyone who learned the way I learned.
Go into that a little bit here. We talked about you became an accountant, but your work today goes far beyond that. So for someone hearing about your work for the first time, how would you describe it and the impact you aim to have, especially within the health world? Because some of our listeners might be saying, well, why are you guys at WellWave now having this accountant on here?
It's a bit of a mix of professional and personal journeys and a story, I guess. I grew up in a family of doctors. My mom is a pulmonologist. She doesn't practice anymore, but my dad was a hematologist. He quit medicine probably a few years after I was born. And the reason he quit is because in the Soviet Union, socialist medicine, two doctors could not support a child financially. My parents were making less than janitors at a hospital. And so my dad quit and he went into business in the 90s, rough area, rough time. And my mom stayed a doctor and for I think 10 years. And then she actually quit because what she realized was that she became an acupuncturist. She knows two kinds of acupuncture and all kinds of other things. But what she realized is that people don't want to be healthy. They just want a pill to make the pain go away. And so she was like, I'm wasting my time doing this. So that's her. My dad, it's a very interesting case. It was a very interesting case. He passed away 5 years ago from cancer. And I know that had I gotten into biohacking and this progressive, preventative micro niche, if you will, I know that he would still be alive today. That is a fact. With everything that I know and I have now access to in terms of my clients that I work with. So he built a pretty unique business in Belarus. He built a business. He introduced the concept of collateral, which in the US has existed for a long time, but in Belarus it never existed in jurisprudence. He was not a lawyer, he was a doctor with really good math skills. And he introduced that concept. And when people would ask him, how did you create a unique business like that? He would say, and I've heard him say this a million times, I just look at a business as if it's a human body. To me, once you figure out what plays the role of the liver, what plays the role of the heart, what plays the role of the brain, how the systems work, it becomes easy to run a business. And so to me, it really stuck with me for years. And only in the last few years, I've come back to that. I'm actually writing a book where I use that as an approach, as a framework. And because I've been working with a number of practitioners who are not taking insurance, who want you to be healthy if you want to be healthy, that really transformed my own personal health and my own career as well. And so I've started working with these doctors, and it goes well beyond accounting. My team does most of the day-to-day accounting and tax compliance, which are extremely important because most of the doctors that come to us have complete mess in their books. That's just the reality of it. Usually not just mess, but also audit, red flags, fraud sometimes that they sign off on and not know about it. And so most of that is handled by my team with my supervision, but I focus on the tax planning aspect of it so that they can actually keep more of their money, but also business aspect of it. Helping someone my doctor is my client. He changed my life 5 years ago when I started working with him. He transformed my Hashimoto autoimmune into completely controlled, manageable thing that I am on top of. And so seeing how he struggled financially, a doctor who gives everything that he is to his patients and his patients' health, and can't build a retirement fund, struggling really, I don't want to say living from paycheck to paycheck, but basically close to that, just something wasn't right. And so using him as my guinea pig, I really started looking into, okay, why does this fail? Why does this become a problem for practitioners. And now, having worked with a number of them for over the last 5 years, what I've noticed is that the better the doctor, the worse they are with money. So in my day-to-day work, what I really love is that piece, not the numbers day-to-day, because that, again, is handled by my team and is done correctly, no issues, no problems. But then how do you help them restructure their practice and restructure their time so that they can actually have the time to learn new things, new developments, new technologies, whatever else comes up, so that they can support their patients even better and make that impact. Every doctor I work with, I ask them, what is your goal for this business? And almost everybody says, my goal is to impact lives. My goal is to change how somebody can feel. And having gone through that with my doctor, I can say that it's absolutely possible, but most people don't know about it. So what I do is I work with them every week, sometimes every day, depending on the client, sometimes every month, to help them restructure their way and their approach to business aspect of things so that they're protected, they're compliant, but they're also building a life. Because people don't realize my doctor raised his prices, and so some people dropped off, right? Some patients. But what people don't realize is that doctors have to eat too. Doctors have to pay rent or pay a mortgage too. And so helping them take a stand for themselves because they give their all to the patient and to that patient's life is what I like to do. And then it also comes through a tax reduction lens where I actually help them pay less tax along the way.
All right. So like maybe got a little bit there, but what's the principle or belief that guides your approach to the work?
Principal belief for me is that client or patient experience and impact comes first. Money comes second. It always follows if you do things right. But I believe that, and then we see that everywhere. Many doctors go into medicine, become doctors for the money. They want to be making a good living. They want to check all the boxes, whatever that motivation is, right? For me, I only work with doctors and me personally, because I am the same way, who want to change people's lives, who want to impact how somebody lives. And I'm the same way.
Yeah. Now, I know you're way above any challenges that may face you today, but if you do get faced with a challenge, what keeps you grounded and what keeps you moving?
I think gratitude, really. I mean, there's studies that show that gratitude actually creates different neural connections in your brain. And so when I face challenges, I always think about what I am grateful for. My doctor, who's my client, texts me from time to time, we're so grateful that you work with us. We're so grateful for you. And I text right back and I say, every day I look in the mirror and I'm grateful for you too. And so I think gratitude has been life-changing.
What habits have you formed to stay healthy yourself?
Daily exercise. Yes, there are other things, the right supplements, the hormonal balances, and all of these different things. But some of my clients ask me, like, how long did it take you to enjoy and to want to go exercise? And I said, well, about 6 months of daily exercise. So I basically made it a habit. I realized how to trick my body. And the trick is to get up early enough so the brain isn't woken up yet.
You're tricking your brain to want to exercise.
I wake up at 5:15. My brain's not really awake. I mean, I'm functioning and stuff, but I start working out 5:25, 5:30. And so by the time I'm done at 6 o'clock or whatever, 6:05, I'm like, oh, okay, now I'm fully awake. And now the energy's pumping, the endorphins, the dopamine is going, and I feel buzzed the entire day. It's just been, honestly, the biggest thing, I think, for me over the last
So
years.
tell our listeners, Tatiana, what is that workout? Do you go to the gym? Do you have a home gym? Is it a walk around the block, watch the sunrise? What is that daily exercise?
I have a home gym. I have 2 sets of dumbbells. I actually just recently this week raised my weights, light, medium, high, to the next level, which has been interesting. But I do strength exercise 6 days a week with 1 rest day. Sometimes I get 2 rest days and I kind of allow my body to dictate that kind of stuff. But I am one of those freaks that I don't like the rah-rah that personal trainers give you. To me, it's a hassle to go to the gym. Like if I have to go somewhere, I'm not going. Everybody's different. Some people need that motivation. I'm the opposite, right? Some people need somebody to say, you can do this, let's do 5 more push-ups or whatever. I actually hate that. I just discovered it a couple of weeks ago when I was doing my VO2 max test.
What's the one thing you never compromise on for your health?
Sleep.
Good. Okay. And what's something most people you think get wrong about wellness from your own personal experience and from all the physicians that you work with? Because most of them are functional people who look for root causes, right?
I think that the what most people get wrong, I've been thinking about this a lot because sometimes I'm like, I want to shake somebody and say, why do you not see that there is a way, And I think it's the mindset. Unfortunately, there are a couple of mindsets, the insurance versus concierge medicine, right? Some people want the insurance to pay for all of this stuff and they wouldn't do anything outside of that. It's also the mindset of, having grown up in the family of doctors, my parents always questioned everything. And so I always question everything. I don't just trust what the doctor is telling me. I actually check in with myself and see how that kind of reflects in my body, what response I have. And so education, really a lot of stuff going on TikTok. It happens in my tax practice too. People send me a video on TikTok. Oh, can we have this deduction? And I'm like, oh my God, please kill me now. Like somebody sent me a thing, oh, you can deduct your pets. Okay. And I was like, did you actually read the article behind this post? And if you read it, you'll see, like, no, you cannot deduct your horses.
What's one simple place you would get people to start from a wellness standpoint?
Fix the sleep first. Every doctor I know says it's sleep first, nutrition second, exercise third, and then everything else. And I've seen in myself how when I have enough sleep, like I used to have a couple of phone calls a week with the same investor group in the healthcare space. We were launching a project. And so 8 a.m., I'm like, okay, let's do this. Let's do that. Let's go there. And they're like, what are you smoking? And I'm like, I've just had a great night's sleep. I exercised. I did some peptides. I'm really good. I don't need to smoke or take any stimulants. I'm really good. The body is doing the work. So I think that would be one thing that I would fix first. Sleep is so important. It influences everything else: cognition, impulse control, decision making, everything.
All right. Good stuff. And then, so now, whether it's wellness or your work, what's something about your perspective people would not expect?
People would not expect that there's no magic pill. I think somewhere deep down for a number of years in my own health journey and accounting journey, I was hoping, I was buying all kinds of trainings, I was buying all kinds of things and reading all kinds of books, implementing, doing all the things, making all the moves. But then I realized that I transfer that responsibility for making a change onto that book, that course, that mastermind, that whatever, thinking that it would do the trick. And the problem is that it all comes back to you. In your health and in your business, it all comes back to you. You have to do the work. And most people don't expect how much work is involved.
That's great advice. So I've got some rapid fire questions for you. Super easy. I think we already know the answer to the first one. Are you more of an early bird or a night owl?
Definitely early bird.
Yeah. And do you prefer the mountains or the beach?
The beach.
And do you prefer coffee, tea, or something else?
Coffee.
Okay. All right. And when our listeners, this is a teaser to get everybody to come to the full episode with you, Tatiana. When we invite people to that full episode, what's the one thing that you hope that they take away or think differently about?
I hope that they take away that insight, that mindset, that it's their business and their health is so much deeper than they thought. And what I mean is, we'll talk about different things, right? And I want them to see how I think, because to me, that's what I look for. When I read a book, I want to understand how the author thinks. I want to see how the speaker thinks, because when I see that, it's almost like looking at a diamond, and, diamond has a million surfaces, right? Different angles that you can see it. And it's almost like you can see a better picture of that diamond when you see a million of them. And so I hope that they can walk away with helpful tips on how to maybe look at their business differently, maybe how to look at their health differently, how to look at their people that surround them. Because to me, people is everything. People that surround them, their advisors, how to get more of that relationship, how to ask for things and be ready to pay for things. Because the typical, let's say, accountant relationship is quick question, quick answer, because you're not really paying for that. And it's also similar with medical professionals, unfortunately. But I would love for them to walk away with that understanding.
Well, thank you, Tatiana. It's great to have you on today, and looking forward to going a lot deeper with you on the full episode of the WellWave Now show. And until next time, stay curious, stay empowered, and remember, wellness, it's in you.